Had this. The first press, I just use a 1 gallon, a full 1 gallon jug of water. Gives me about an 8-pound press. I'm gonna pull my follower here. It's kind of tough the first time there. Okay, the first press, we can't fix if your pH is off. So that's gonna be the main thing about getting a nice pretty rind, is if your pH is off, you've kind of lost the battle already. So here's my first press. This is after 15 minutes at just 8 pounds, and you should already be sticking together. If you're not, then we have a problem. So I want to just line that up in the middle of the cheesecloth. And we're not in a race here, race to get it slammed back in there. So you're not kind of fighting time the way a lot of people think we are. So I'm just going to grab this up in my cheesecloth. And here's the kind of the important part. I want a nice smooth bottom on this thing. So I want to make sure that the bottom, there's no wrinkles at all on the bottom here. I'm going to drop that in, and I'm getting pretty wet here, so I'm going to hurry this up a little bit. So you want good tension. I already know that the bottom of this is nice and flat. So I want really good tension. And I'm going to take all these wrinkles out of the side that I can and make this as even as possible all the way around. So I want really good tension on the sides all the way around on this cheesecloth. So I'm going to pull down on the outside to create that tension. So when you look directly in, let me see if I can bring you over here. When you look directly in, that's kind of what you get. Is nice even tension all the way around. And I've got some onion in this one, so it's going to look a little funky. And then when I put my follower in, I'm just going to give that a little bit of a wiggle. I'm just going to give that a wiggle, and then rather than pull up on these, I'm going to pull down on the sides all the way around. And that just restores whatever tension I lost, and then you can take your cheesecloth, pile it right inside there. And then that can go right onto your press. I rewatched that first part. Sorry about all the fat guy mouth breathing I had going on there. I'll try to curb it, but what can you do? Okay, so this has been on another 20 minutes. And the goal is to kind of get this closed in about 2 hours, get the rind closed. Your pressing is going to continue, but you want that rind closed in about 2 hours. Okay, we're going to do the same thing. Let's stretch that cheesecloth out. And we should, when we flip this, start to see that rind closing up nice and pretty on us. There's no marks on the side here because all our wrinkles are up top, and we get a nice smooth, our cheesecloth is nice and smooth all the way around. So I don't have wrinkle marks anywhere around here. I'm going to grab this up again. And there's a part I forgot to mention on the earlier video, and I'll get into that in a second. So again, I'm making sure that this bottom is nice and smooth. There's not a single wrinkle anywhere on there, not even a crease. It's nice and even. And I don't ever, if you noticed when I took the other follower off at the very beginning, and even now, I never ever drape a cheesecloth over. I don't see a point in doing it. All that has ever done for me is make all kinds of wrinkles. Sorry, timer went off. So those wrinkles really stand out. So if you get this all even, and again, all my pressure is coming from the outside of this thing, and I don't leave anything folded over. I don't leave any creases in the, even up high, folded over. And then we can see this is starting to, let me get you over top here. We can see that's really starting to close. And then no folding that cheesecloth over. There's no point. The gravity's taking care of most of that moisture for us. And I have a nice smooth top to our follower, and there's no holes in this. So then I just wiggle that down. Then I'm just going to go around one more time. So pH is important for getting that rind closed, and you want it to be warm also. Think about it like rice. If you have warm, wet rice, that's going to stick together. Cold, dry rice is going to fall apart. Kind of the same thing with your cheese. If you're losing too much heat out of this thing, drape a towel over the whole thing to kind of retain some of that heat for you, and that will help. I'm not clean and sanitize this counter before I flip it each time. Now we're really starting to close. So our goal is to get this curd closed in about 2 hours. And it's really starting to come together now. We're going to flip it over. I see a little bit of a wrinkle there. We'll pop that out so we're nice and smooth. You can kind of see wrinkles when it starts. Older cheesecloths work better. I like it when I've made about 5 or so cheeses with the cheesecloth and it's got a little more play to it. New cheesecloths, it's harder to get them really pretty. So even though you can kind of see wrinkles on the side here, they don't go all the way to the bottom. Let's take a look again and you can kind of see what we're dealing with. Got a little bit of a wrinkle there. There we go. You want just tension all the way around that. And it gets fewer and fewer wrinkles the more compressed that wheel gets. All right, and we'll come back on the next flip. What we're looking for is just small drips coming out of there and a nice clear whey. If you start getting cloudy whey coming out of there, you're losing butter fat, and that is a sign that you're pressing way too hard. You can see this is nice and clear and coming out nice and slow. So your follower should not be greasy at all. That's another sign that there's an issue when you're pushing too hard. If that butter fat starts coming out, it kind of makes everything greasy. So if that follower is getting a little oily, you're pushing too hard. So we've been now about 2 hours. And we should have to start to see a nice closed rind. You will see some lines. These will all go away, but our rind is essentially closed now. If we can take a close look at that. And if we look all the way around, we're not seeing, we see a couple of little marks, but we shouldn't see too many at all from our cheesecloth. There's another little one. And those will start to go away as this gets even smaller. Again, we're going to close this up. Okay, so I'm pulling that all the way up, and we have a few wrinkles down here. We're just going to get rid of all of those. Make sure we have a nice, pretty flat bottom. And that's how we want it right there, nice and even. And the side wrinkles we'll take out as we work this cheesecloth a little bit. So again, you might get 1 or 2 little folds in there, like we saw, but you're not going to have any big deformations. The more even you can get this rind, especially if you're working on a natural rind, the better off you're going to be. It's not so important if you're going to be vacuum sealing it or waxing it. But blue molds love little cracks and crevices, and they will climb right in them. All right, so we have that all even all the way around again. And we'll take a look down there again. Let's see if we can see that. Pop the cheesecloth back on there. So again, your acidity is going to be the main way you're going to close these rinds pretty. And then, you know, just keep it warm and keep the pressure on. We apply the pressure slowly. We close that rind slowly. That way we're not trapping way in there and getting an over acidified cheese later on. And we should have, the next time we open that, all those lines we saw gone, and it should look really pretty. So I'll see you then. So this is after about 4 hours of pressing. See, we have a nice even rind. There's not a lot of marks at all on it. I think there's one as we get around here. You can see a little one there, but there's kind of another one. But you get a nice smooth rind doing it this way. At this point, you can take it out of the cheesecloth altogether and just press it in your press without a cheesecloth at all. I find you get little kind of bumps where the holes are in your mold, so I just continue using a cheesecloth. But you end up with a nice smooth cheese, very photogenic from pretty much any angle. Like I said, you may get a little one fold, maybe two like that, but the vast majority of it's going to be nice and smooth. And I find that towards the end, even those larger ones will go away towards the very last pressing. So anyway, that's it.